What is up, everybody? DanDanTheFireman here. Today we're going to be going over 5 tips for surviving intersections while on your motorcycle. Intersections and curves are very high risk situations for motorcyclists. It takes some skill and it takes some tools in your toolbox to figure out what's going on. But right now, with everything the way it is, I highly recommend that you reduce or eliminate your leisure riding. But the reason why I'm making this video is because I know a lot of you guys are essential workers and you still have to commute to work and back. And a lot of you have motorcycles as your only mode of transportation. I do not want you to go out there without the necessary tools to keep yourself alive. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. We're gonna be focusing on those that are commuters and essential workers. But then after all this stuff lifts, it's a very good information for anybody that's going out riding leisure or commuting otherwise. So let's go ahead and talk about these 5 tips for surviving intersections while on your motorcycle. Whenever I'm out riding, I make sure I put myself in a position where I am consistently able to see well ahead of time and then also have a good escape path and space cushion between all these different vehicles. But at intersections, when we're coming up to them, it's always good to have the best vision, because remember, the biggest risk to motorcyclists are people turning into our path of travel. So number 1, don't hide. You cannot hide behind a vehicle, more so like in lane position 2, right behind a vehicle. Position yourself so you can see, you're able to look around these vehicles. You're able to see that left turn. You're able to see that right turner, anything. I want you to move around in your lane, okay? Jockey for sight and space and possibly an escape path. Move around. Don't put yourself in a position where nobody can see you, but more importantly, where you can't see them. If you've noticed, I'm in my studio and I'm not out riding because, once again, I'm not considered essential and I'm reducing or eliminating all my leisure riding. So I'm out here at the firehouse. This is typically where I do all my live streams. So you can actually catch me Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays on this channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, and all my crew members, boom, get special access to the crew lounge on the Discord, and that's absolutely free. But let's jump into the next one. The next one is to be bright. I want you to be very vibrant, very bright. This is going to add an extra layer of protection in terms of being seen. If you're seen more often, a greater chance of not getting hit. But once again, I hyper focus on what I have control over, and that is my own skill set and what I do with this motorcycle. So in low light situations, it is hard for vehicles to see us, and that's really the biggest thing here. So at night, higher risk if you are wearing all black and you have really poor headlights, or you have a nice cloud over it because you weren't taking care of it using your T-clocks and checking your lights and everything, okay? So on top of that, think of using your brights when you're coming up to an intersection at nighttime. Now, typically a bulb is about 1700 lumens. That's just one. And then brights are a little bit over 2000 lumens. Now, lumens is just a unit of, how bright something really is. But remember, that's just one bulb. Cars have 2. So at the end of the day, even if you use your brights, it's going to be less bright than it is going to be for a car driver. Now, that's also going to play into the part of, well, it's a high beam, so it's going to be directed right at their eyes. But remember, we're going straight. We're not pointing at anybody, and this is all about our own visibility. You want them to see that there's a moving object that's relatively bright coming up in the path of travel that they're going to want to take. So if they're wanting to take a left-handed turn or a right turn, depending on where they're coming in from, they're going to think twice when they see a bright object kind of moving back and forth, because remember, you're not hiding, you're jockeying for good position with a light movement. They're going to hopefully see you. Now, that is just one little tip. Now, we got 3 more to go. So make sure you're using your headlights, and also move around, okay? Move around a little bit, not swerving, but just kind of move around. But we're going to jump into that one. So yes, number 3 is moving around. Okay, remember, the biggest danger in intersections are those people that don't see us and they turn in front of us. Now, one good example of all of this is that if you're just walking around and you see something in the bushes right over here to the right or to your left or wherever this is on the screen, the only reason why you saw that is because it kind of moved. So that's why animals are really good at seeing predators to the sides or in front, especially if they move. If you stay still, they can't see you. Guess what? If you're not moving around in your lane and you're just kind of this small profile right in front of a car, guess what? They're not going to see you very well. So if you're consistently moving, it's going to make sure that the person that is kind of looking out here, when they're zoned out, it's like, oh, catch my eye. There's something right there. So if you're in lane position 1, 2, or 3, just move from like 2 to 3, maybe 3 to 2, back to 3, and whatever position that you feel is comfortable for you while trying to maintain a good line of sight and then also having an escape path just in case they don't see you. If you really want to learn more about the science of this, look into motion-induced blindness. Now, it's basically us being the object that we need to be seen, but then there's movement behind us. So a stationary object, movement behind us, it's very hard to see that stationary object. But if you're moving around, maybe even going against it or with it, there's a greater chance of being seen. And that is the biggest thing when it comes to inattentional blindness or motion-induced blindness. Now, that is very scientific, so I do have a link in the description where it's going to be something that it's going to be very easy to read about. And this is why I choose to move around a little bit right before an intersection and then get out of that intersection as quick as I possibly can. The next step is to be prepared. Now, what does that mean? I mean, this is a tip, be prepared. Obvious, we need to be prepared. That's why you're here. But the biggest thing here is looking for patterns inside an intersection or while you're riding. Now, this is what we do during the after action reviews of motorcycle crashes and close calls. And this is what we hyper focus on during the live streams, where it's going to be a back and forth between me and the viewers like you guys. So I highly recommend checking those out. It's an educational class while having a little bit of fun. But during the after action reviews, we're actually talking about what we are looking for. Now, right here, I have this on screen. This is a perfect example of recognizing patterns. If you see the car right here, this car, you see the back end of the car. So it's almost like my hand right here. Now, if we look over here and right here, we see the sides of the car. So there's a huge difference between these car looks, the profiles of these cars. They're the same cars pretty much. One's to the side and one's behind. When you see this, that indicates that there's an intersection. So for those intersections that are kind of blind, or the intersections where you can't see because there's no traffic lights, if you see something like this, that indicates that there is an intersection coming up, and there's a possibility that one of these vehicles could pass into the travel of us. Now, this one right here is an actual intersection with a stop sign. This one right here is a parking lot. So I treat parking lots, driveways, anything like that where a vehicle is side by side like this or perpendicular. It lets me know that there is a possible danger of a path of travel violation. So I immediately jump into orange stage. I'm prepped and ready for a swerve, emergency braking, or anything that I need to do for an escape path. So recognizing certain patterns and recognizing certain things is very important to be prepared. And the only way you can do that is either you live it or you watch these videos and the after action reviews for the live streams, or when I make an actual video on it. But if you can't make that and you just want to watch this one video, always look for this right here, and then look for any tires that are turned, possibly for merging. Also look for any type of open gaps and long lines. That is a great example of impatient drivers not wanting to wait in line and will shoot out and merge into the open lane where you're at and cause a crash. And that's usually during traffic or right before an intersection. So it's very dangerous for us, very high risk. Make sure you're in the best line of sight, the best position for a space cushion, and have an escape path. So we talked about utilizing swerving, braking, everything just in case, being in orange stage. And we talked about having good situational awareness to have these patterns in mind. When it comes to the fundamental skills, especially right now with the whole lockdown and everything, it's very hard to practice this. And this is exactly why I want essential workers to go to a parking lot and practice your fundamental skills. After the lockdown is removed or whatever is going to be happening in the near future, go out and practice this, because it's going to be like coming off of a season of no riding. You're going to be a little bit rusty. I want you to have your fundamental skills up to par, because the high risk never changes. Your skill can change. I want it to be high with that risk. So there are 3 major skills that I want you to practice out there in a parking lot if right now you are an essential worker. Okay, because remember, I don't want you guys going out and possibly getting injured, being sent to the hospital, and then now contracting COVID-19 on top of your previous injuries from practicing. So always wear full gear, always be extra safe, and don't put yourself in a massive situation that could be bad. I recommend practicing at roughly 60% of your total skill just to keep it maintained. Okay, so now that that is out of the way, let's focus on 3 major skills that you must practice to keep yourself in a good spot. So number one is something very easy that all of us can be doing is the situational awareness, utilizing the after action reviews on the live stream and then on these videos, and then utilizing a color code chart that I have set up. You know, white stage is zoned out, you're not paying attention. Yellow stage, you're zoned in, which is what I want you to do while you're riding. And then recognize intersections and curves as default orange stage hazardous zones. This is where you recognize that there's a potential threat. You don't know where the threat is, but you're scanning everything and you're looking for stuff like this. And that's going to let you know, hey, something bad's going to happen. Going to go ahead and start hovering over the brakes, getting ready for the swerve, getting ready for the braking. Don't worry about the horn. Don't worry about rev bombing. So practice that. Get yourself situated. But now we need to jump into the actual skill because all we did was situational awareness. So practice your emergency swerve. Go to a parking lot and practice your swerve. I do have a video on how to do that in a parking lot. And all you need is a set of cones or cut in half tennis balls or whatever it is that you would like to set on the ground, and then you can possibly run over it and hopefully it's not going to damage your bike. So go out there and practice your swerve. I have that linked in the description. I also have progressive braking linked in the description. So go to a parking lot, same parking lot maybe, and practice your progressive braking. Remember, weight transfers to the front, apply more and more and more, and you will stop because weight causes friction, friction causes traction, traction allows you to brake without dumping the bike. Those three major skills are easily practiced either in a parking lot or by watching this channel. So once again, click that subscribe button. Now this video is slightly different. I typically go out there and ride and do a moto vlog type thing where I talk about this stuff, but once again, leisure riding, I'm gonna go ahead and minimize my risk of either contracting COVID-19 and then on top of that, reducing my risk of not crashing and then going to the hospital and contracting COVID-19. So the biggest thing here, guys, is don't go out and leisure ride because there could be a chance that you can crash and then now contract it at the hospital. For those of you that are commuting and are essential workers, you have to go to work because of everything that's going on, whether you work at a grocery store or you work at a hospital or you work as a firefighter, EMT, you know, anything like that. I need you guys to be extra careful and wear full gear. Ride well below your limits and don't take unnecessary risks and only commute to work and back, okay? Cut out leisure riding altogether until this is all over. Sorry guys, but that's honestly what my recommendation is and a lot of experts' recommendations are. So thank you guys so much for being so supportive of this channel. I will see you guys on the live streams and I'll see you around. See ya.